Man, when I read this Bible verse for the first time, this was the first verse that I memorized. Because when I read these words, Philippians chapter 4, verse 6, don't worry about anything, I knew it was speaking directly to me. Anybody else here, you're a worrier? Man, I was worried what people thought about me. I was worried about my future. I was worried about my finances. I was worried about my relationships. I was worried about finding somebody. I was worried about serving God. I was worried about whether or not God was pleased with what I was doing. I was worried about everything in my life. All the time. I'd worry about stuff that happened in the past. There'd be situations or people I would interact with, and I'd be up the whole night thinking about how I should have did it differently. I should have said this. I should have responded in this way. I should have acted this way. I would just spend my life worried about everything. I was worried about what other people thought about me. I was worried about being embarrassed. But what I had to learn is that there is nothing that you can't overcome when you trust in the Lord. When you realize that anxiety and worry is things you can't do anything about. You can't control it at all. Now, I remember a few years ago, I went to El Salvador. And I went on a mission trip to El Salvador, and when I came back, I was sick. I had an amoeba. And my stomach was all jacked up. Okay? And it was bad. And I had to go to the bathroom all the time. How do you understand what I'm talking about? So my life group was getting together for a 4th of July party. And we was at my friends Richard and Sherry's house. They're on the front row. Y'all wave your hands, everybody. Say, no, I'm not making this story up, okay? So it was the 4th of July, and I was at their house, and I had to go to the bathroom real bad. And you know, you don't want to do that at somebody else's house, right? But I had an amoeba. I had no choice. So I went to the bathroom, and the bathroom faced the kitchen. So I went in and I locked the door, but what nobody told me is the lock on the door was broken. So I'm using the bathroom, and then all of a sudden, my wife opens the door. Boom, wide open. While I'm using the bathroom. But since it faced the kitchen, everybody else was sitting down eating lunch. So they looked at me, and I looked back at them. And my wife was so shocked, she just left the door open. So I looked at everybody, I was like, what's up? Everybody looked at me, they was like, what's up? So I finally looked at my wife and said, you gonna shut the door? So she closed the door. Well, look, here's the thing. I could be worried about what these people thought about me. I mean, how do you respect your pastor after that? You know what I mean? But I couldn't control it. It was out of my control. And that's how worry and anxiety is. When you're worried about all kinds of things that are out of your control, there's nothing you can do about them. What you got to realize is those things you worried about are just robbing your peace. They're stealing your peace. They're taking from you what God wants you to have. See,